All right, we're ready to continue on with Alabama. We'll ask Coach Oats for a couple of general thoughts on the game, then we'll take your questions just for the two student athletes, then excuse them back to the locker room and finish up with Coach. And a reminder, when you ask a question, please identify yourself and the outlet that you represent. Coach?
Yeah, obviously not the outcome we were expecting or hoping. You know, you got to give Florida a lot of credit. They've played us really well 2 straight games. I thought we had a good start to the game. Things were rolling. Kind of took the time out, and they got readjusted. You know, I didn't feel we had a killer's mentality to kind of just put them away early. You know, we could have, I thought, maybe buried them when we got them down 8-zip. Then they kind of took the time out, and they started making a comeback. You know, I looked at our first, you know, we kind of chart every 4 minutes, you get the media timeouts, and we were a .56 and a .88 on defense first 2. Then the next 6 straight 4-minute wars, they were over a 1-4 every one. So they went 1-5, 1-6, 1-5-7, 1-4, 1-4, 1-4-4. Our defense just kind of, I don't know if, you know, it was coming too easy, the offense, but for whatever reason, our defense has been our Achilles heel all year. We had a good start today and couldn't maintain it for 40 minutes. So disappointing, but we'll be in the NCAA tournament. So we had a good enough regular season. We had quality wins. We've got a pretty good tournament resume. We'll see where they send us, and then we got to get rested. These guys are going to have to decide how bad they want to win in the NCAA tournament, how much we want to continue to play defense for 40 minutes. And if we play defense for 40 minutes, we can play with anybody in the country. If we decide to take 24 minutes off from the defensive end, it's going to be hard to beat anybody in the NCAA tournament.
All right, questions for either of the student athletes, raise your hand, and we'll get one of the remote mics to you. Raise your hands. Okay, let's start on the front row.
Yeah, Nick Kelly, Tuscaloosa News. Aaron and Mark, just as far as the effort that you bring on defense following a bad offensive possession, where do you feel like the team is right now in terms of how you respond defensively when things don't go well offensively?
Mark, would you go first?
Yeah, like Coach said, you know, we did really good when it was 8-0, and then, you know, we just got to be better when times go through adversity. We just all got to lean on each other and bend but not break.
And same for Nick.
I kind of just agree with Mark and Coach. It's just I don't know what it is. We started out great today. We really haven't been starting off great like our last couple games, but I feel like we started out great today, and then they scored a little, and we kind of just folded from there every time. I mean, every 4-minute war, we kind of just folded, and they kind of scored more and more and more. So,
Other questions for either of the student athletes? Okay, let's go to the back on the center aisle.
Wyatt Fulton, Tide 100.9. What were some of the things you guys were doing defensively to start the game that led to the 8-0 run?
That was for which player? Okay, Mark, why don't you go ahead?
I'd say we got stops and we got out in transition and the ball was moving. You know, that's what really led us to getting an 8-0 start. I feel
like our intensity was high coming out. You know, guys was blowing everything up, you know, getting over screens. And then I don't really know what happened, but I just feel like it died down as we were playing throughout the game.
Other questions? Got time for maybe one more? Anyone? All right, we'll excuse the student athletes. You can return to the locker room. And we'll continue on with questions for Coach. So raise your hand and we'll get a floor mic to you. Let's start right on the front row.
Yeah, Nate, you talk about how when an offense doesn't work, how that can affect defense, how that your players can't let that affect defense. How much do you think that's playing to right now just defensive struggles, or just where do you think that's all at?
I think it's a big part of it. I mean, I talked to him after the game, like, you know, adversity happens, you miss a shot, ref misses a call, teammate misses you being open. You can see it, guys' heads drop, intensity's not there on defense. You know, bad defensive possession, they score, we don't come back pushing the ball with pace on offense. makes the next offensive possession harder. It's just a snowball effect. I mean, it goes both ways. You know, you play really hard on defense, you get stops, you push in transition. We score really well in transition. You don't play hard on defense, you're taking out of the net all the time, you can't get out in transition as much, we're not as good. And, you know, the snowball went on and on and on for, shoot, at least 24 minutes today. So we got to be better. I got to do a better job. Maybe I probably should have called a timeout in the middle of that 6 minutes there at the end of the half. Maybe I should have used an extra timeout, top of the one I actually used. But we got to do a better job trying to keep guys in the game that are focused on defense. Coaches got to be. We got to do a better job.
Question front row.
Chase Goodrub with the Tuscaloosa News. Nate, is this the hardest time of year to turn it around when things aren't going right, or is it like any other time of year when you're trying to get some struggles turned around? It's
a good question. You know, you'd think I thought we had a good positive attitude coming into this tournament. You know, I didn't think we played particularly well against Arkansas. That would have been our third loss in a row, but we came back, got the win. You know, we've lost 3 of the last 4. We haven't been healthy. You know, we just got Reitzel back, just got Griffin back from the previous Florida game. So felt like we finally got our group together and we got a little healthier. So I mean, it's hard to change at any point during the year, but shoot, if we don't change, we're not going to be playing too many more games at this point. So they're going to have to decide how much more basketball they want to play together. This will be the last time this group gets to play together. I felt bad for Aaron. I thought he played pretty hard most of the day. And, you know, next time we lose, he's done. His career's over. So we've got to, you know, he's been a great teammate. He's helped the program a lot. I would hope these guys would want to try to play a little harder for him at least.
I got a question on the center aisle on third row.
Ori Cantrell, Crimson White. Coach, you just talked about Rollin and Luttrell, and you spoke leading up to this game about how valuable they would be. They went a combined 1 for 9 from 3. How much do you think the injuries factored into that, specifically for Rollin, and how did that impact the game?
Yeah, I mean, it's his first game back. He hasn't even practiced. We haven't had a live practice that he's been able to participate in. So you're hoping he can step back in and play like he was playing before he went out, but it's probably unrealistic. And, you know, hopefully the next time he plays, you know, he'll be able to practice with us all week, getting some live reps and be a little bit better because he's been pretty good for us all year. And Reitzel's been a little banged up here over the last month, but he's been a lot better too, to be honest with you. I mean, so having a healthy Reitzel and Griffin obviously would make a difference, but still go back to, I just think the biggest problem is our defensive intensity, and those two have been some of our better perimeter defenders. You know, maybe if they can get a little healthier over the next, you know, obviously you're judged a lot on what you do in March in college basketball, and we need to try to make a deep NCAA tournament run. And sometimes it's not the worst to get your legs back up under you. I thought Ryland's legs looked pretty good, and like his individual skill workouts and stuff, but probably needed some game reps. Hopefully this gave it to him. Hopefully he plays a lot better in this next weekend in the NCAA tournament.
A question third row on the left.
Blake Byler, BamaCentral.com. Coach, you mentioned that you had the team had a good positive attitude going into this tournament, but coming off a loss like this, how do you kind of rekindle that positivity and that kind of attitude and the mindset going into the NCAA tournament next week?
Yeah, I mean, we're just going to have to come in and figure out who we're going to play Sunday night, put together a game plan, tell them exactly how we're going to have to do it, and talk about doing it every possession for 40 minutes regardless of what happens on offense. You know, to me, that's where, you know, they're teenagers, young adults, they're young men. Like, I've had this issues with guys in the past. So it just seems as a collective whole, this has been a little bit bigger issue with this group, just not being able to forget the play before, move on to the next play. And I told them again tonight, it really doesn't matter whether you missed 3 wide open shots, your teammate missed you, the ref blew a call. It doesn't matter. Like, your effort on defense shouldn't be affected by what happens on offense, and we've got too many guys where I feel like it does. And so we're going to have to try to get the attitudes back right and just change. Like, we want to win. This is what you're going to have to focus on defense every possession down, and we're going to try to reiterate for the next week, and whether we play Thursday or Friday of next week, we got to be ready to go right out of the gate.
Question on the far right.
Johnny Condon, ABC 3340 in Birmingham. Nate, you've told us back home in Tuscaloosa that the defensive intensity has been there in practice. Why do you feel like it hasn't necessarily translated to the game, and how frustrating is that?
I think we got a lot of guys that are too worried about what happens on the offensive end. And, in practice, you can run a defensive drill, and it's defense, boom, boom, boom. It stays there. They're working on their defense. You get in the game, and they're worried about what their offensive numbers, whatever it is. The offense goes bad, whether it's their fault or not. I mean, shoot, sometimes it's not even like they're upset with the ref or a team. They just miss a shot, or they haven't got a shot in a few possessions, and defensive intensity lacks. It's just the teams that can make deep tournament runs are teams that have a defensive mindset. Look at our group last year. I mean, 2 out of the last 3 years we've been top 3 in the country in defense. Not count 2 out of the last 3 before this year. Those teams are also the ones that won the SEC tournament. The 2 that were ranked right around 100, this one and 2 years ago, we got beat in the first round. So these guys are going to have to decide, that other group also got beat in the first round of the NCAA tournament. We got a week to decide whether they can sit down and guard for 40 minutes or not. If they can, we can go make a pretty deep run in the NCAA tournament. Because it's not for lack of, it's not for lack of quality defensive personnel, in my opinion. Now, obviously, we're missing some guys here and there, but we've got guys that are more than capable of being better than solid defender. And we don't have to be a top 3 defense in the country. I mean, we've got a top 3 offense in the country. If our defense was top 30, we'd be easily a top 5, top 10 team in the country right now. So we're going to have to try. You've seen it from various teams this year where they do figure it out and play hard on defense. We got to try to figure it out over the next week.
Got time for 1 or maybe 2 questions? Anybody? All right, let's go to the back left.
Therese Walker, The Associated Press. Nate, Greg Byrne announced on social media before the game that you've signed your extension that'll be approved by the board next week. How nice is it to have that commitment and see that coming for men's basketball at Alabama?
Yeah, I've had a really good 5 years here working with Greg and Dr. Bell and the board and just everybody around the school. I love it here. We've turned the program around. We're a little disappointed tonight, obviously. We'd like to be playing tomorrow, playing for SEC tournament championship, but we're in the NCAA tournament. 13 years before we got here, they'd only played in 2. This will be 4 straight for us. So we've got the program headed in the right direction. We've got the commitment from the administration that they're going to continue to support us in a way that I feel like we can compete to be a top 10, top 25 team year in, year out. And I appreciate their support and keeping me here. Take my name out of some of the other job openings that are there, but probably not great timing with this loss tonight with the release, to be honest with you.
We got time for 1 more question. Anyone? All right, take the last question on the far right.
Coach, with the exception, obviously, Brandon last year and Clowney are NBA guys, but you talk about the makeup and the competitive character they had on the defensive end of the floor. Do you feel like this team is lacking any of that?
Yeah, we're definitely lacking it. It's not there enough. Like, Clowney didn't let offensive possessions affect his defensive energy. Bediako didn't. Brandon really didn't either, to be honest with you. Some of those guys had a little bit more competitive character on the defensive end, which is why we were top 3 in the country in defense. And some of these guys have it at times, and it's just not consistently there enough from the group as a whole. So we're going to talk about it. I love this group of kids. They're a bunch of really good kids. We got to compete harder on the defensive end for 40 minutes, and we're not right now. We didn't tonight, and it's been a problem with us through large parts of this year too, to be honest with you.
Thank you.